Welcome to the Music Nut Program. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to my review on the latest album by Little Feat. This came out on May 9, 2025 on Hot Tomato Records. Strike Up the Band. This is the band's first album of original music since 2012's Rooster Rag. Let's go over the lineup that is currently in Little Feat. I will announce them chronologically. Bill Payne on piano, Hammond B3, synthesizers, keyboards, and lead vocals. He has been with Little Feat from the start since 1969. We have Kenny Gradney on bass and backing vocals, Sam Clayton on percussion and backing vocals. They've been with the band since 1973's Dixie Chicken. Fred Tackett on guitar, mandolin, trumpet, and backing vocals. Fred's been with the band since 1988's album Let It Roll, although he did write a track on Dixie Chicken from 73 called Fool Yourself. Scott Sharrard on slide and electric guitar, acoustic guitar, wrestlephonic guitar, and lead vocals, and Tony Leone on drums, percussion, and lead vocals. They have been with the band since 2019. In 2019, Paul Barrere was taking a break from touring, and Scott Sharrard was playing some gigs, and Larry Campbell was playing some gigs. Sadly, we lost Paul Barrere later on during the tour in 2019. I saw them the next night, and Scott was playing lead guitar with them at that point, and Tony was on drums. So, the horns provided on this album are by Art Edmayston on saxophone, Mark Franklin on trumpet. We got backing vocals from Kristen Rogers. This is produced by Vance Powell and Bill Payne, and 6 tracks were co-produced by Scott Sharrard. So here's the album. And if you open the inside, it lists the band members here, all the credits here, and then the thank yous here. We got a picture of the band. Here's Bill, Scott, Fred, Sam, Kenny, and Tony. Here's the CD. The CD is just in here. There we go. Here's the CD. And the inside, this is interesting. In the inside, there's a picture of the band as well. It's just this picture, but from the opposite angle. There's no booklet in the CD at all. It's pretty bare bones. So, how's the album? I could say with a lot of confidence, this is one of the best albums they have done since Lowell George passed away in 1979. It has that same spirit of the 1970s Little Feats. And you can also say the first few albums from their comeback, starting with Let It Roll. Every song on here is very good. The live horns on here bring a new life to these songs. I mean, the songs are all very good, but the horns on here make those songs even stronger. Very, very strong album. 13 songs, 61 minutes. A lot of their albums since maybe Ain't Had Enough Fun from 95 have been about an hour or longer. Unlike a lot of those albums, though, this stays very consistent throughout. Even on the second half of the album, the songs are very strong. I always thought that a lot of the latter day Little Feat albums were top heavy, and songs on the latter half kind of would go into this mid-tempo groove and they sound kind of samey. You don't have that here. The songs are very, very good. Scott and Tony really gave the band a shot in the arm in the songwriting department here. And all the albums are good, but this one is very good, and I may even say great after a few more listens. So let's get into the tracks. We open with 4 Days of Heaven, 3 Days of Work. This is Scott on lead vocals. Scott's slide guitar is all over this album, just like Lowell's was back in the day, and then later on, Paul Barrere's was on the later albums. But nearly every track you have Scott's slide guitar singing, and it sounds excellent. We got great solos here from Fred and Scott. This has a very rollicking feel. We got some nice call and response between Scott and the horns during the second verse. We got a nice bridge on here. There's a few nice bridges on this album. This is a great way to start the album. It has that great New Orleans sound that we love about Little Feat. Bayou Mama, this is Bill's song. I like this even more. This is a little more upbeat than 4 Days I Have and 3 Days of Work, and that's an upbeat song, but this is played at a slightly faster tempo. That slide from Scott sounds beautiful here. The groove on here is very, very strong. Again, we have a nice bridge on this. At another time, I could have heard this on album-oriented rock radio. Another strong track. Shipwrecks. This is Scott's song. This really has that same feel that you had in 70s Little Feat. We got a nice piano solo on here from Bill Payne, a nice vocal on this. This is very, very good. Very, very soulful track. Midnight Flight. The band have put out a video for this track, and you can check this out on YouTube. This is excellent. This reminds you a little bit of One Clear Moment, the second track from Let It Roll, but it's even more spirited and more joyous. It is excellent. The horns on here are so classy. Excellent track. Another great groove. Wonderful chorus on here, as I mentioned. Very memorable. Strong track. As is Too High to Cut My Hair. This groove on here is scintillating. And you got the great vocal interplay on here when they get Sam in there on the vocals too. And it is so, so cool. When I first heard this song, I'm like, this is very Meters, very Tower of Power. And I know they're all contemporaries from the 70s, but it has that same vibe, and that's a positive thing. Very lively. The vocal interplay is very strong, as is the interplay between the band and the horns. Excellent. Horn lines are very snappy on here. When Hearts Fall, this is the first ballad of the album. Bill sings this, very introspective, as a lot of his ballads are, but this one has more grit than a lot of ballads from the latter day Little Feat albums. And I think this is very, very good. Strike Up the Band is the title track. We have Rebecca and Megan Lavelle from Lark and Poe adding backing vocals, wonderful harmonies on here. This is more in the spirit of mid-tempo Americana music. You got Fred Tackett's mandolin on here, and it's kind of got like a gospel feel to it almost. It's very cool. Nice piano solo on here. You got nice slices of slide guitar. They're not up front like you had on some of the earlier tracks on the album. Very elegant, very strong title track. Interesting thing with the title tracks from the Little Feat albums, you never know where they're going to go, because you may get a slow grinding blues like Sailing Shoes. You might get something upbeat and bouncier like Feet Don't Fail Me Now, or especially Let It Roll. You may get something with more of an island feel like on Time Loves a Hero, or something even very upbeat like Chinese work songs. But then you get something that's a little more tranquil, a little more mellow, like Under the Radar and Strike Up the Band. It's very interesting that, wow, Little Feat does this with their title tracks, and I love it. Bluegrass Pines. We have a video out for this as well. This is sung by Bill, very New Orleans in its delivery. Very, very cool. We got acoustic guitar on here by Molly Tuttle, and we have backing vocals from Larry Campbell and Teresa Williams. As I mentioned, Larry was playing a few shows with Little Feat after Paul had passed on. Their harmonies sound great on here. There's a nice breakdown here in the song that works very well. Another nice bridge on here. Great call and response during the harmonies as well between Bill and Larry and Teresa. Very, very well done. And it has that New Orleans spirit with its delivery and the horns on it. Disappearing Ink. This is a Scott track. I listen to this song. I think, oh, this would have been all over AOR back in 1988 or 1990. Very classy track from Scott. Very, very good. Very memorable melody on here. Great chorus. Excellent song. This is very well written and crafted. Love and Life Never Fair. This is a Scott song. This is very soulful, little more laid back. It does remind me of some of the deeper tracks that you'd hear on the first albums when Little Feat would come back, like songs like Changing Luck or Don't Try So Hard or Feelings on All Gone. And those were songs that had to grow on me over the years because when I was younger, I wasn't into their more mid-tempo tracks, but as I got older, I got to appreciate them a lot more. And when I hear Love and Life Never Fair, I get that same vibe. Very well written song. Dance a Little. This is from Bill. This has a nice bridge. I love what Kristen Rogers is doing here, whether she's doing just playing backing vocals or doing some call and response or harmonies with Bill. It sounds very, very cool. Nice groove on here. The keyboards on here sound very, very cool. Nice piano work here by Bill, as always. Running out of time with the blues. This is the only lead vocal that Tony does on the album. You listen to this. Well, first off, Tony sounds a lot like Paul Barrere on his lead vocals. If you go see him live, he sings Down on the Farm. And that's a song that Paul's was singing live forever. You close your eyes, it's like Paul's there. He sounds very much like Paul. And this sounds like something Paul would have wrote on one of the latter day albums by Little Feat, one of those blues tracks. Very well done. Nice bridge on it. Very gritty. Very, very cool. Last track is New Orleans Cries When She Sings. Very cool ending track because it starts like this reflective piano ballad. We get nothing but Bill and piano, and then it turns into a New Orleans party. And it's so joyous. And the horns on here are amazing. Kristen Rogers' vocals are awesome. She's adding all these ad libs on here that are really, really cool. It has a vibe like Fat Man in a Bathtub, but without the slide guitar. It's very cool. And then it goes back into that reflective piano ballad of the song, and it brings the album to an end. A glorious end. Strike Up the Band. Very strong album that I am loving more and more with every listen. If I was to give this a ranking now, after 5 listens, I give this an 8.5. Talk to me next week. It might be a 9. It is that good. If you haven't been listening to Little Feat in the last several years, give this a shot. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. It has that same spirits that you had when Lowell was in the band, as well as the comeback albums. You got a lot of spirit from the albums with Sean Murphy on here. You got a little bit of everything, and everything is well done, played with a lot of class. The songs are very, very good. So, what do you think of Little Feat? Have you heard this album? And if you have, let me know what you think of it. What are your favorite songs by Little Feat? Do you think they just peaked on Waiting for Columbus and you don't have to hear anything else? I don't want to hear that too. Please let me know in the comments. Just to let you know, I have a lot more coming up on the Music Nut program here. And I am very happy that I was wrong about Little Feat not making another album. I thought they were done after Rooster Rag. I thought they were just going to be a touring entity. But Scott and Tony again really brought shots of the arm to the band, who are already still making good albums. And Rooster Rag, their album from 2012, was very, very good. I think very highly of that album. But this one is even better. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Do what you love, and I'll talk to you soon.